Welcome to Uncloseted Conversations. Even if you stumbled upon this channel by accident, you are welcome here. The stories here are from my heart, from my soul, from my pen to your ears. I hope that you will stay a little longer and open yourself to the magic of storytelling. Here I write fiction, and though not always aligning with reality, it still tugs at heartstrings. Stories are escapes and sometimes a balm to the soul. So, enjoy your time here, and if reality presses down too loud and too hard, come knock at the door, come in, take a seat, grab a coffee, and just exhale. These are veil-bound stories, and the space is free and non-judgmental. Sit back, earphones or pods in, and let's listen to another exquisite romance. Fire and Verdict. Two women. One unstoppable bond. A world of power, desire, and danger bows to them. In a city where chaos rules and every case could destroy lives, Harper McCluskey and Riley Cunningham are untouchable. Brilliant, fierce, and bound by a love forged in danger, they navigate corporate sabotage, deceit, and life-threatening schemes, while discovering that the most unbreakable force isn't the law, it's each other. Chapter 1. Glass and Blood. Today, dragged like gravity had doubled. Not only did the printer jam, spewing paper like a child racked by nausea, but the coffee machine suddenly forgot English. After 6 months of obediently serving black coffee, it now rebelled, disgorged a wretched sludge, half-boiling water, half-scorched milk. As though it had developed a perverse conscience, or a grudge. Then the elevator. Just as Harper stepped inside, it sighed. A metallic groan. A shudder. And between the 3rd and 4th floors, it simply stopped. Not with a crash. Not with warning. It was as if time itself had bent, folding into a slow, unbearable crawl, like the universe held its breath, giving birth to an unbearable slow motion. And then, crack. A sound so sharp it split the silence into before and after. The paperweight, a cold, heavy cube of glass, launched from the desk. Harper watched it blur past her. Her eyes followed. Then her head. As if asking the air, "Where are you going?" It struck the opposite wall with a thud, a deep, hollow boom that rattled the windows. Then rebound. It landed inches from the artificial ficus, shattering into 1,000 jagged stars. And the splinters, they didn't fall. They danced. Floating. Twirling. Suspended in shafts of dusty light, like shattered time trying to remember how to move. One piece, clever, cruel, took a different path. A glittering arc. A silent betrayal. It kissed Harper's upper arm, just above the elbow. But the pain didn't come. Not yet. Her mind was still chasing the paperweight, now inert on the floor, when the heat arrived. A slow bloom. A spreading stain of warmth. She looked down. Blood. Thick. Dark. Trickling in thin rivulets toward her elbow. That's when she felt it, the sting, delayed, like lightning remembering to strike. On the other side of the newly shattered glass, in the office, stood Riley Cunningham. Not a woman. A force. Her chest heaved shallow, ragged gasps, not breaths. Her stance, coiled. Ready. A warrior stepping onto a battlefield with no armor, no mercy. She watched. She saw everything. She saw Harper's head dip. Saw her eyes lock onto the blood, wide, unblinking. Saw the moment her pupils froze, her body going still, like a clock that forgot to tick. She saw Harper's mouth open soundless. Then close. Then movement. Bam. The door slammed into the wall like a cannon blast. Click-clack. Click-clack. Heels on marble, sharp, urgent, dangerous. Riley crossed the room in 3 strides, grabbed Harper's arm, and yanked her up. Harper remembered none of it. Not the drag. Not the blur of hallways. Not the cold tile of the bedroom floor beneath her feet. Harper McCluskey only remembered sitting on a stiff plastic chair and Riley Cunningham's hands on her face. Fingers cupping her cheeks. Warm. Trembling. Alive. Harper looked at her, through a fog, as if viewing her from underwater. Riley's voice came distorted, muffled, like a radio half-tuned. "Harper, are you okay?" "Oh God, Harper. I'm so sorry. Speak to me." And then, the electricity. It surged through her, not pain, not fear, but something deeper. Currents arcing along her nerves, searching, finding the rhythm of her heart. And before thought, before reason, her body moved. She leaned in. Her lips found Riley's. And the world tilted. Spun. Collapsed. A collision of breath, heat, hunger. Riley moaned soft, deep, a sound from the back of her throat, like a secret finally told. Her lips closed around Harper's, warm, yielding, claiming. Their breaths tangled. Shared. One. Then darkness. No warning. No fade. Just gone. Harper's head dropped. Her body slid, boneless, from the chair. Riley caught her, just in time, cradling her like the air itself had failed. Silence. Then, "Harper." A voice. Distant. Insistent. Pulling her back. She followed it. Through the black. Her eyes fluttered once. Twice. And opened. Chapter 2, Containment. Harper woke to white. Not hospital white. Corporate white. The kind engineered to look calm while quietly documenting your pulse for legal purposes. Fluorescent panels hummed overhead. The air smelled faintly of antiseptic and money. Somewhere nearby, a machine ticked out a measured rhythm, steady, impersonal, impossible to argue with. I didn't die, she thought. Worse. She tried to sit up. Pain snapped down her arm, bright, insistent. A sharp reminder that glass had opinions. Don't. The voice came from her right. Low. Controlled. A voice trained to stop judges mid-sentence. Harper turned her head. Riley Cunningham sat beside the examination bed, one ankle crossed over the opposite knee. Jacket gone. Shirt sleeves rolled. Hair imperfect, never messy, just disturbed. Like a storm that had passed through and left no debris, only pressure. In her hand, a clipboard. Of course. You're in the firm's med suite, Riley said. You fainted. HR is pretending this never happened. Facilities are pretending the wall always looked like that. Harper swallowed. Her throat burned. The glass. Superficial laceration, Riley cut in. For stitches. No nerve damage. You'll have a scar. Harper winced. Great. Riley's mouth twitched. It'll make you look seasoned. Partners love that. Harper closed her eyes. Memory rushed in, uninvited. Blood. Heat. Hands on her face. Lips. Her eyes flew open. Her voice cracked. She cleared her throat. I kissed you. Riley didn't look away. Didn't flinch. Yes, she said. You did. Silence dropped between them, heavy, formal, the kind used in depositions to make people confess. That shouldn't have happened, Harper said. No, Riley agreed. It shouldn't have. And yet, neither of them moved. Harper stared at the ceiling. Am I fired? A pause. Calculated. Dangerous. No, Riley said. But if anyone else had seen it, we'd be having a very different conversation. Harper exhaled shakily. I don't do things like that. Riley leaned forward, resting her forearms on her thighs. You don't throw yourself at your supervising partner while bleeding? Harper shot her a look. You're not my partner. Riley's gaze sharpened. Not yet. The words landed wrong. Or too right. The warrior stance was gone. The battlefield eyes softened. What remained was something more dangerous. Concern. You scared me, Riley said. The words landed heavier than any accusation. Harper's hand tightened in Riley's without asking permission. You threw a paperweight at a wall. Riley winced. I missed you. That's not comforting. A ghost of a smile tugged at Riley's mouth. It's honest. The world returned to just the two of them and the quiet hum of a room that had accidentally become a confession booth. Harper exhaled. Slow. Careful. Something's wrong with me. Riley leaned forward. No. Something's happening to you. Their eyes locked. Not like strangers. Not like coworkers. Like people standing at the edge of a door neither of them had meant to open. You don't kiss people when you're bleeding and half unconscious, Riley continued. That's not instinct. That's memory. Harper frowned. Memory of what? Riley's thumb brushed the inside of Harper's wrist, soft, grounding, electric. That, she said, is what we're about to find out. Before Harper could respond, Riley stood, already shifting back into command mode. We have a problem, she said. Harper sat up, slowly, carefully. The case. Riley's jaw tightened. The case is bleeding worse than you are. She started pacing. Controlled. Precise. A predator in a glass cage. The witness changed her statement. Again. The rookie on scene contaminated the blood work. Chain of custody is a joke and opposing counsel knows it. Riley stopped, turned. If we don't fix this by Monday, the contract collapses and we take the fall. Harper's stomach dropped. They'll scapegoat us. They'll eviscerate us, Riley corrected. You for being green. Me for being reckless enough to trust the system. Harper swung her legs off the bed. Payne protested. She ignored it. What do you need? She asked. Riley studied her, really studied her now. Not as a liability. Not as a junior. As a weapon she hadn't realized she'd armed. I need someone who sees what everyone else misses, Riley said quietly. Someone who doesn't flinch when the story doesn't line up. Harper met her gaze. Steady. Awake. I saw something, Harper said. In the files. Before the paperweight realigned the glass. Riley went still, smirked and then. What kind of something? The blood patterns, Harper said. They don't match the timeline. And the witness, she's lying, but not the way you think. A slow smile curved Riley's mouth. Not kind. Not safe. Looks like you're not going home after all, she said. Then, softer. Lower. And Harper. Yes. Riley's eyes flicked, briefly, to Harper's mouth. What happened between us stays buried, she said. Until this case is over. A beat. Then, Riley added, we'll talk about it. The room felt smaller. Tighter. Charged. Harper stood, dizzy but determined. Fine, she said. But Riley? Yes. If this blows up. Riley stepped closer. Too close. Her voice dropped to a promise. Then we burn with it. Chapter 3. Chain of Custody. The evidence room smelled like disinfectant and regret. Harper stood over the conference table, sleeves rolled up, hair twisted into a knot that meant don't talk to me unless you're prepared. Files were spread in surgical precision, autopsy photos, lab reports, witness statements, time logs, each one a polite lie waiting to be contradicted. Riley leaned against the glass wall, arms folded, watching Harper the way generals watch maps before a war. Silent. Assessing. Start talking, Riley said. Harper tapped the blood work report. This sample was logged at 2142. Yes, Riley said. Collected at the scene. No, Harper replied. Logged at the scene. That's not the same thing. She slid a photo across the table, grainy, time-stamped. This was taken by the rookie, Harper continued. Body cam. He steps into the kitchen at 2131. Victim's already been moved. Blood's pooled, not active. Riley straightened. Meaning the blood sample labeled primary impact couldn't have been drawn when he says it was. Harper flipped another page. But here's where it gets worse. She circled a line on the report with her pen. EDTA levels, Harper said. Too high. Riley's brow furrowed. In English. Harper glanced up. The preservative used in lab tubes? It's meant to stop clotting. But this concentration suggests the blood sat unrefrigerated before it was drawn into the vial. Silence sharpened. Riley pushed off the glass. How long? 20 minutes. Minimum. Possibly longer. Riley exhaled slowly. That blows the timeline to hell. Exactly, Harper said. And it means either gross incompetence or deliberate manipulation. Riley's eyes darkened. Opposing counsel will argue contamination. They'll win, Harper said flatly. Unless we flip the narrative. Riley stepped closer. Too close again. She looked down at the report, then at Harper. Show me how. Harper swallowed, not nerves. Focus. The witness, she said. She claims she saw the victim collapse at 21:25. But the blood pattern suggests the injury occurred later. Which means she wasn't there, Riley finished. Or, Harper countered, she was there, and lying about when. Riley's lips curved. Why lie about time? Harper slid one last document forward. A contract amendment, she said. Executed at 21:18. The victim signed it. That signature becomes void if he was incapacitated before then. Riley froze. Jesus, she murmured. If the injury happened after 21:18, Harper continued, the contract stands. If before, opposing counsel voids it and claims coercion. And the witness's testimony conveniently supports their version, Riley said. Harper nodded. Too conveniently. Riley let out a short, humorless laugh. And the rookie? Was eager. Nervous. Wanted to do everything right. Harper hesitated. Or wanted to please someone. Riley's jaw clenched. Who ordered the blood draw? Harper didn't hesitate. Not him. Riley stared at her. Say it. The senior detective, Harper said. The one with the conflict of interest no one bothered to disclose. The room went very still. Riley stepped back, running a hand through her hair. If we accuse the police of evidence tampering. We don't accuse, Harper said. We demonstrate. Riley looked at her now with something new in her eyes. Respect. You built this quietly, Riley said. Why didn't you bring it to me sooner? Harper met her gaze. Because you told me once, off the record, that evidence only matters when it's undeniable. A slow smile spread across Riley's face. I did say that, she murmured. Their eyes locked. The air hummed again, dangerous, familiar. Riley straightened, all steel now. All right. We file a motion to exclude the blood work. Harper shook her head. No. Riley blinked. No. We file a motion to compel, Harper said. Full forensic audit. Body cam logs. Lab protocols. Chain of custody from scene to storage. Riley's grin turned feral. You want to pull the thread. I want the whole sweater, Harper said. A beat. Then Riley laughed, low, delighted. God help them. She moved past Harper, brushing her shoulder, not accidental. Good work, Riley said. You just saved the case. Harper watched her go, pulse loud in her ears. Save the case. Or set it on fire. Chapter 4. Pressure Points. The retaliation came disguised as procedure. Riley read the email once. Twice. Then she smiled. Oh, she said softly. They're scared. Harper looked up from the whiteboard. Timelines crisscrossed it in ruthless symmetry, red for witness statements, blue for forensic facts, black for contractual triggers. It looked less like a caseboard and more like a blueprint for collapse. What did they do? Harper asked. Riley handed her the tablet. Emergency motion to strike, filed 702. Opposing counsel had moved to exclude Harper from all further forensic review, citing overreach, junior impropriety, and unauthorized evidentiary interpretation. Harper blinked. Once. That's creative. They're aiming at you, Riley said. They think if they remove the variable, the equation collapses. Harper's mouth twitched. That's adorable. Riley studied her. You're not offended. I'm flattered, Harper replied. It means I'm right. Riley laughed under her breath. God, I like you. She stopped herself, just barely, and straightened. Good news, Riley continued. Their motion opens the door for discovery expansion. If they want to question your role, we question everyone's. Harper nodded. Including the detective. Riley's eyes gleamed. Especially the detective. Detective Marcus Hale knew the moment he walked into the conference room that something was wrong. The chairs were aligned too precisely. The files stacked too neatly. The glass walls too clean, no smudges, no fog. Control lived here now. Harper stood when he entered. Polite. Neutral. Deadly. Detective Hale, Riley said smoothly. Thank you for coming on such short notice. Hale's eyes flicked to Harper. Didn't realize junior associates ran interrogations now. Harper smiled. Not warmth. Recognition. I don't, she said. I run patterns. Hale snorted. Is that so? Harper gestured to the screen. A timeline appeared, clean, brutal. Your report states the blood draw occurred at 21:42, Harper said. Yet your body cam shows the vial entering evidence storage at 21:39. Hale frowned. That's a glitch. Harper didn't blink. The lab intake log shows refrigeration at 21:51. Riley leaned back, arms crossed. Silent backup. That's not possible, Hale snapped. Chain of custody was broken, Harper finished. For at least 12 minutes. Hale's jaw tightened. You accusing me of something? Harper tilted her head. I'm observing. She clicked again. Witness statements appeared, highlighted, color-coded. The witness claims the injury occurred before 21:25, Harper said. Yet, she texts her sister at 21:28, complaining about the victim yelling. Riley raised an eyebrow. Yelling victims tend to be conscious. Hale shifted in his chair. Harper continued, voice calm. Blood spatter indicates secondary movement post-injury, meaning the body was repositioned. Hale leaned forward. You're reaching. Harper met his gaze. No, she said. I'm breathing. The room went silent. Riley felt it then, the shift. The moment Hale realized this wasn't about hierarchy. It was about inevitability. You didn't do this alone, Harper said quietly. Someone told you when to log the evidence. Hale scoffed. You think a rookie and I conspired. I think you were instructed, Harper interrupted. And I think you didn't ask questions because the answer threatened your career. Hale stood abruptly. This interview is over. Riley stood too. It's actually just beginning. Hale looked between them, then back at Harper. His eyes narrowed. You're dangerous, he said. Harper nodded once. I know. He left. The door shut. Silence returned, thick, electric. Riley turned to Harper slowly. You missed nothing, she said. Harper exhaled. I don't know how. Riley stepped closer. Close enough to lower her voice. That's what scares them, Riley murmured. You see truth like oxygen. You don't even realize you're doing it. Their eyes locked. The past kiss lingered, unspoken, unresolved. Riley straightened, professional mask snapping back into place. They'll escalate, she said. Opposing counsel. The police. Maybe even the firm. Harper nodded. Let them. A beat. Riley, she added. Yes, if they come for me. Riley's voice cut in, fierce and certain. They come through me. And for the first time since the elevator stopped. Harper smiled. Chapter 5, Under Oath. The courtroom was too quiet. Not peaceful, anticipatory. Harper sat second chair, legal pad balanced on her knee, pen moving in clean, relentless strokes. She wasn't watching the witness. She was watching time. Across the room, Riley Cunningham rose. No rush. No wasted motion. The jacket fit like intent. Her voice, when she spoke, was calm enough to be mistaken for kindness. Miss Delaney, Riley said, you understand you're under oath? Yes, the witness replied. Too fast. Riley nodded. Good. Then let's begin simply. She paced once. Stopped. You testified that you entered the kitchen at approximately 9:20 p.m., correct? Yes. Riley smiled faintly. Approximately is doing a lot of work there, but we'll allow it. A ripple of quiet amusement moved through the gallery. Riley turned a page. You also stated the victim collapsed immediately after shouting at you. Yes. Riley tilted her head. Immediately is a strong word. She glanced at Harper. Harper didn't look up, Just slid a note across the desk. 2128, text sent. Victim conscious. Riley's eyes flicked to it. She nodded once. Ms. Delaney, Riley continued, do you recall sending a text message to your sister at 9:28 p.m.? The witness stiffened. I might have. Riley raised a document. You wrote, he's yelling again. I can't deal with this. Silence. Riley let it breathe. People who have collapsed, Riley said gently, tend not to yell. Opposing counsel stood. Objection, argumentative. Riley didn't even turn. Withdrawn, the judge said dryly. Riley faced the witness again. So which is it, Ms. Delaney? Did he collapse immediately, or was he still conscious 8 minutes later? The witness swallowed. I don't remember exactly. Riley nodded. Of course you don't. She took a step closer. Let's talk about blood. A murmur rippled. Riley's tone didn't change. You testified that blood was already pooling when you entered the room. Yes. Riley lifted another exhibit. Yet forensic analysis shows arterial spray consistent with movement after the initial injury. She glanced at Harper again. Another note slid forward. Secondary transfer. Body repositioned. Riley's mouth curved, dangerously soft. Which suggests, Riley said, that someone moved the victim after he was injured. The witness's hands clenched. Did you move him, Ms. Delaney? No. Riley nodded. Did you see someone else move him? No. Riley paused. Then quietly she asked, then how did you know where he fell? The witness opened her mouth. Nothing came out. Riley let the silence do its work. You told the police he collapsed near the sink, Riley continued. But blood pooling indicates the injury occurred closer to the doorway. She took another step. Those details, Riley said softly, aren't things you assume. Her voice sharpened, just a fraction. They're things you remember. Opposing counsel stood again. Objection, badgering. Riley turned then. Calm. Deadly. I'm clarifying inconsistencies in sworn testimony, she said. Unless the witness would like to correct herself. The judge leaned forward. Answer the question, Ms. Delaney. The witness's face flushed. I might have been mistaken. Riley smiled. Let's help your memory. She lifted her final exhibit. Ms. Delaney, at 9:18 p.m., the victim signed an amendment to the contract at issue. Opposing counsel went still. Riley continued. If he was incapacitated before that time, the contract fails. She let that hang. You told the police he collapsed before 9:25, Riley said. But your texts, the blood evidence, and the forensic timeline contradict that. Riley leaned in. So I'll ask you plainly, under oath. Harper's pen stopped. Riley's voice dropped. Were you instructed to lie about the time of the injury? The courtroom froze. The witness's eyes darted once toward opposing counsel. That was all Harper needed. She slid one final note forward. She just looked at him. Riley saw it. And struck. Your Honor, Riley said smoothly, let the record reflect the witness's gaze toward opposing counsel before responding. The judge nodded. So noted. The witness broke. Her voice cracked. I was told to keep it vague. Riley stepped back, giving her space to fall. Told by whom? Riley asked. A whisper. Barely audible. The detective. Gasps. Riley straightened, victory quiet and absolute. No further questions, she said. She returned to her seat. Harper looked up at her for the first time. Their eyes met. No smile. No touch. Just understanding. Outside, the storm was about to break. Chapter 6. Controlled Demolition. Detective Marcus Hale took the stand with the confidence of a man who had never been truly questioned. His uniform was immaculate. His posture flawless. He swore the oath like it was muscle memory. Harper didn't look at him. She watched Riley. Riley Cunningham rose. No notes in hand. That alone unsettled him. Detective Hale, Riley began, voice level. How long have you been with the department? 14 years. Riley nodded. Commendations. Yes. Any disciplinary actions? No. Riley smiled faintly. Today might be a first. A ripple of tension passed through the room. Riley paced once. Stopped. You supervised the investigation in this case? Yes. You approved the blood collection protocol? Yes. You certified the chain of custody? Yes. Riley tilted her head. Every step, according to you, was pristine. That's correct. Riley turned, gesturing to the screen behind her. A timeline appeared, clean, merciless. Detective, Riley said, can you explain how evidence entered refrigeration before it was logged into evidence? Hale frowned. I'd need to see. Riley didn't let him finish. Body cam timestamp 2139. Evidence log 2142. Lab intake 2151. She turned back to him. Which clock was lying? Hale shifted. Those systems aren't always synchronized. Riley nodded. Interesting. She glanced at Harper. Harper slid a document forward, silent, surgical. Riley lifted it. According to departmental policy, Riley read, discrepancies exceeding 5 minutes require supervisory reporting. She looked up. Did you file that report? Hale hesitated. No. Why not? Because it wasn't necessary. Riley's voice softened. That's not your call. A pause. Riley stepped closer. Detective Hale, she said, are you familiar with the term willful blindness? Hale bristled. I resent the implication. Oh, I'm not implying, Riley cut in smoothly. I'm defining. Opposing counsel stood. Objection, counsel is testifying. Riley turned slowly. Then allow me to introduce testimony. She gestured. Harper stood. The room shifted. Riley spoke without looking at her. Ms. McClutson, please explain the EDTA concentration findings. Harper's voice was calm. Clear. The blood sample contained elevated EDTA levels inconsistent with immediate collection. This indicates delayed transfer into the vial. Hale stiffened. Riley turned back to him. Which means the blood sat exposed. Yes or no? Hale swallowed. Yes. And yet, Riley continued, you testified the sample was drawn immediately. Yes. So your testimony is false. Opposing counsel leapt up. Objection. The judge raised a hand. Overruled. Riley didn't smile. Detective Hale, she said, who instructed you to certify the chain of custody despite the discrepancy? Hale's jaw clenched. I don't recall. Riley nodded. Let's help you. She lifted her final exhibit. A phone record, Riley said. An outgoing call from you to opposing counsel's office at 2114. Gasps rippled. Opposing counsel went pale. Riley's voice dropped to a blade. You called them before the blood was drawn. Silence. Why? Hale's shoulders sagged, just slightly. They asked me to. Opposing counsel stood, frantic. Your Honor. Riley turned. Sit. Down. The judge's gavel struck. Counsel will refrain from interrupting. Riley faced Hale again. You coordinated evidence handling with private counsel, Riley said. You influenced witness testimony. You falsified certification. She stepped back. No further questions. Hale sat there exposed. Opposing counsel didn't survive the afternoon. The judge granted the motion for forensic audit. Then the sanctions. Then the referral. By the time court adjourned, their lead counsel was being escorted out, briefcase forgotten, reputation in freefall. Outside, the city hummed, oblivious. Inside the hallway, Riley stopped. Harper almost collided with her. For a moment, there was no law. No case. No hierarchy. Just breath. You did that, Riley said quietly. Harper shook her head. We did. Riley's gaze softened. You're not junior anymore. A beat. And Harper. Yes. Riley stepped closer, voice low, dangerous. They won't forget you. Harper met her gaze steady. Good. Chapter 7. Internal Memoranda. The partner's floor always smelled like restraint. Polished wood. Citrus cleaner. Power that had learned to whisper instead of shout. Harper had never been summoned here before. Now she sat beside Riley at the long obsidian table, hands folded, posture immaculate, pulse steady. Around them, the firm's senior partners assembled like a jury that had already read the headlines. The managing partner, Eleanor Voss, steepled her fingers. "Well," she said, "that was disruptive." Riley smiled politely. The smile that had ended careers. "Truth often is," she replied. A few partners shifted. One cleared his throat. "You blindsided opposing counsel," another said. "You embarrassed the department." Riley's gaze didn't waver. "We protected our client." "And the firm." Silence. Eleanor turned her attention, not to Riley, but to Harper. "Ms. McClutson," she said, "you're a junior associate." "Yes," Harper replied calmly. "And yet much of this case hinged on your analysis." "Yes." Eleanor studied her. "You didn't miss anything." Harper met her gaze. "No." A beat. Then soft laughter from the end of the table. "Well," Eleanor said at last, "that complicates things." Folders slid across the table. Sanctions avoided. Client retained. Settlement leverage doubled. And then, a single-page addendum. Eleanor pushed it toward Harper. "Effective immediately," she said. "You'll be reassigned." Harper's breath stilled. To Riley Cunningham's direct team, Eleanor continued. "With expanded authority." Riley didn't look at Harper. She didn't have to. "And Ms. Cunningham," Eleanor added, "you'll mentor her." Riley inclined her head. "With pleasure." The meeting adjourned in murmurs and measured nods. As they walked out, Riley finally spoke. "Congratulations," she said. "You just terrified an entire floor." Harper allowed herself a small smile. "I'll try to be gentle." Riley laughed, low, delighted. "Don't you dare." Chapter 8, Blue on Blue. The police department unraveled quietly at first. Internal Affairs requested files. Then emails. Then phone records. Detective Hale was placed on administrative leave by noon. By Wednesday, his superior was answering questions he didn't like under oath, with no Riley Cunningham to soften the blow. Harper watched it all from the firm's war room, news feeds muted, documents scrolling. "They're turning on each other," she observed. Riley leaned against the desk. "They always do. Loyalty collapses faster than lies." A junior officer testified. Then another. Procedure failures surfaced like oil on water. By Friday, the department issued a statement. Errors were made. Riley snorted. "Classic." Harper tapped her pen. "They'll sacrifice Hale." "Yes," Riley said. "And then quietly retire the rest." Harper looked up. "Unless." Riley smiled. "Unless someone keeps pulling." Harper slid a final file across the desk. Anonymous. Immaculate. Devastating. Riley scanned it once. Then laughed. "Oh," she said. "You're vicious." Harper shrugged. "I breathe patterns." By Monday, Internal Affairs expanded the investigation. By Wednesday, a task force was announced. By Friday, Hale's badge was surrendered on camera. The city exhaled. Justice, they called it. Riley closed the file and looked at Harper, really looked. "You didn't do this for revenge," Riley said. "No," Harper replied. "I did it for symmetry." Riley stepped closer. The room felt smaller again. "You're dangerous," Riley murmured. "Not because you're angry." She leaned in, voice low, electric. "But because you're right." Harper met her gaze, unflinching. "Careful," she said softly. "You're supervising me." Riley smiled, slow, knowing. "And you," she replied, "are changing the rules." The air between them tightened. Charged. Waiting. Outside, sirens wailed, distant, defeated. Inside, the real reckoning was just beginning. Chapter 9. Reassignment of Gravity. The case settled on a Thursday. Not with fireworks, those were for amateurs, but with a single email marked confidential and a settlement figure that made everyone suddenly very polite. Riley read it once, then forwarded it. Done, she said. Harper leaned back in her chair. That's it. That's it, Riley confirmed. No appeal. No statement. Opposing counsel has retired into strategic silence. Harper nodded. Good. The firm moved quickly after that. Partners who had once spoken over Riley now waited for her to finish. Committees were reshuffled. Cases rerouted. And Harper. Harper stopped being introduced as junior associate. Now it was. This is Harper McCluttson. She sees things. The managing partner called them in again. Different tone this time. Eleanor Voss smiled like someone acknowledging a natural disaster that had proven useful. We have another matter, she said. Sensitive. Difficult. Largely circumstantial. Riley didn't react. Harper did, internally. The file landed between them. Missing financial overlays. Contradictory witness statements. A client with too much money and not enough truth. Eleanor continued. Hard to prove. Harder to explain. Riley glanced at Harper. Harper had already opened the file. She inhaled once. Exhaled. And saw it. All of it. The pattern aligned so cleanly it almost bored her. Harper closed the folder slowly. 3 weeks, she said. Riley's eyebrow arched. 3. Eleanor frowned. Ms. McCluttson, this case has stalled for 6 months. Harper offered a polite smile. Then it's overdue. Riley hid her grin behind professionalism. Chapter 10. The Long Way Around. Harper solved the case in 48 hours. She did not say this out loud. Instead, she requested supplementary statements. Asked for unnecessary clarifications. Scheduled interviews she didn't need. Riley watched from across the table, amused. You're enjoying this, Riley said one evening, files stacked, city lights bleeding through the windows. Harper didn't look up. I'm being thorough. You're being theatrical. Harper paused, then smiled. I learned from the best. Riley laughed softly. You dragged this out for effect. Harper finally met her gaze. Power needs time to notice it's shifted. Riley studied her, pride unguarded now. The opposing side grew restless. Mistakes crept in. Contradictions surfaced unprovoked. On day 19, Harper slid a final memo across the desk. Riley read it. Once. Then again. Jesus, Riley murmured. You disassembled them without touching them. Harper leaned back. They'll concede tomorrow. They don't even know why yet. Harper's eyes gleamed. They will. The concession arrived before lunch. No fanfare. No resistance. Just surrender disguised as pragmatism. Riley closed the file and exhaled. You walked them into it, she said. Harper shrugged. I let them talk. Silence settled, comfortable now. Intimate. Riley turned to her. You know, she said, the firm thinks you're a weapon. Harper tilted her head. And you? Riley stepped closer. I think, she said quietly, you're inevitable. The word hung between them, heavy, honest. Outside, the city moved on. Inside, the balance had changed forever. Chapter 11. Heat in the Shadows. The memory of the medroom kiss lingered like electricity in Harper's veins. Not guilt. Not confusion. Pure potential. It hummed quietly in her chest whenever Riley leaned too close, when their shoulders brushed, when the world insisted on being ordinary. Riley knew it too. She felt it every time Harper's fingers lingered on a file, on a pen, on her arm, anything that reminded her Harper existed in more than strategy. They didn't speak of it, not in words. But in stolen glances, in hands that met and lingered, in exhalations that weren't quite theirs alone. And then the firm noticed. A memo arrived. Harper's inbox pinged with corporate caution disguised as policy. Romantic or personal relationships between colleagues are discouraged and may affect work assignments. Management reserves the right to review all sensitive case assignments involving concerned parties. Translation: We're watching you, Junior. Prove we're wrong, or we'll remove you from the game. Harper read it slowly, then forwarded it to Riley. "Looks like they want a show," she said. Riley smirked, low, dangerous. "Let's give them a masterclass." The firm assigned Harper a deliberately difficult case. Impossible timelines. Conflicting clients. Senior associates meant to shadow her at every step, subtly undermining, observing. Harper smiled. For 3 days, she let them think they were in control. Meetings dragged. Emails requested. Consultations scheduled unnecessarily. Every move precise, every pause deliberate. She danced on the edge of chaos, letting the firm think it was steering her. Then she struck. A final memo, 60 pages of flawless logic, unassailable evidence, and airtight conclusions. It tore through assumptions, obliterated objections, and left the firm with only one truth: Harper McCluskey was invaluable. The policy review came next. Revised guidelines for professional relationships between colleagues. Exceptions may be made when performance, discretion, and contribution are unparalleled. Approval required only by executive partners. Harper read it and looked up at Riley. "They had to rewrite their rules," Harper murmured. Riley's grin was all teeth and quiet menace. "They underestimated us." Harper leaned back, hands folded. "Good." Chapter 12, The Shift. From that day forward, Harper worked only with Riley. Riley trusted only Harper. The firm had to accept it or lose the most effective duo it had ever employed. Meetings? Harper ran the discussion with Riley at her side. Cases? Assigned strategically, with Harper in the lead. Policy reviews? No longer whispers, they came to them. The firm adapted. The colleagues learned. The city remained oblivious. And Harper and Riley? They no longer needed to speak to prove connection. It was woven into strategy, breathing through every glance, every touch, every quiet decision. The medroom kiss was no longer a memory. It was a foundation. When they stood together, navigating chaos, the world bent around them, politely acknowledging power it could not touch. And in the quiet moments, files closed, phones silent, Harper would brush her hand against Riley's. And Riley would lean in, almost imperceptibly. No words. No rules. No hesitation. Just the understanding that whatever storm came next, they would walk through it together. The call came just after sunrise. Harper was already at her desk, reviewing filings from the previous night when Riley's phone vibrated. She glanced at it, eyebrow arched. "Want to see something interesting?" Riley asked. Harper looked up, tired but attentive. "Define interesting." Riley handed her the tablet. The file opened. It was audacious. A multinational merger, 5 layers of shell companies, missing billions, offshore accounts coded in jurisdictions that made tax lawyers weep. A contract had been manipulated, a CEO threatened, witnesses had disappeared, some literally. And one corrupt detective was already deep in the mix. Riley's eyes met Harper's. "This is theirs," Riley said, voice low, lethal. "They think anyone else can untangle it. But only we," she gestured between them, "see the pattern." Harper exhaled, slow, deliberate. She smiled. Chapter 13, The Case That Whispers. The first briefing was chaos disguised as procedure. Partners threw documents, juniors misread timelines, opposing counsel made assumptions that could be refuted with a single question. Harper leaned back, pen poised. Riley whispered across the table. "Let them play. They'll get bored before we do." Harper nodded. "I love this part." They started by tracing the money. Layer by layer. Account by account. Each fraudulent transaction was a breadcrumb. Each shell company a riddle. By day 2, Harper already had the pattern memorized, the timeline mapped in her mind like constellations. But she didn't solve it yet. No. She let the opposition sweat. Let their analysts scramble. Let the CEO pace and the board panic. Harper scribbled extra notes. Asked unnecessary clarifying questions. Checked irrelevant minor witnesses. Riley leaned back in the corner of the room, amused. "You're taking the scenic route," she murmured. Harper's grin was all teeth. They need the view before the fall. By day 5, the firm was watching Harper and Riley alone. No one else could make sense of the chaos. The board meetings became theater, the law clerks mere props. Then Harper struck. Every piece of evidence, every timestamp, every offshore trail, every witness statement, laid out in a single, unassailable presentation. The room went silent. Opposing counsel paled. The CEO blinked. The board leaned forward as if someone had whispered a secret. Riley spoke, voice calm but slicing. Every transaction, every signature, every anomaly, accounted for, audited, verified, and linked directly to the people responsible. She gestured to Harper, who tapped the final slide, a detailed network of culpability so clear it left no gaps, no escape, no excuse. The room exhaled. Then Harper added her final touch. "Because some of you assumed someone else would notice. No one else did. Except us." The deal that could have collapsed the firm, bankrupted CEOs, and embarrassed regulators was saved. And restructured, more profitably than anyone thought possible. The client? Thrilled. The firm? Awed. Opposition? Obliterated. Riley turned to Harper after the meeting, voice low. "You made it look easy." Harper shrugged, eyes gleaming. "Because it is. If you see it right." Riley stepped closer, fingers brushing Harper's. "And we see it together." The air between them hummed. Not desire. Not just power. Synergy. Inevitability. Outside, the city buzzed with oblivious chaos. Inside, Harper and Riley had made their own gravity. Chapter 14. The Quiet Inferno. The office had emptied hours ago. The city outside hummed faintly, streetlights cutting across glass and steel like shards of quiet fire. Harper leaned back in her chair, legs crossed, fingers brushing the edge of the desk. She wasn't tired. She was expectant. Riley moved between desks, gathering the last of the case files. Their steps were measured, precise, but Harper felt the pull long before Riley spoke. "Done for the night?" Harper asked, voice low, teasing. Riley didn't look up. "Done when we decide we're done." A simple sentence. A declaration. A challenge. Harper's lips curved. "And when do we decide?" Riley finally met her gaze. Eyes like storm clouds over molten city lights. "When it doesn't matter if anyone else is watching." The words hung between them. Electric. Heavy. Inevitable. Harper closed the last folder, slid it toward Riley. Their fingers brushed, lingered. Not contact. Connection. They didn't speak at first. No words could measure what the silence did. Harper leaned forward slowly, letting the air carry the tension. Riley didn't retreat. Didn't hesitate. The kiss was inevitable, not sudden. Slow. Careful. Testing the boundaries. It carried the weight of everything: the medroom, the files, the danger, the city, the storms they'd walked through together. The fire didn't explode. It smoldered, each touch stoking the heat. Harper's hand traced Riley's jaw. Riley's thumb brushed Harper's wrist. Breath mingled. Pulses synced. They pulled back just enough to see each other's eyes. Riley's gaze was sharp, possessive, protective. Harper's was steady, untamed, unafraid. And beneath the slow burn, jealousy simmered, not of each other, but of anything that dared interfere. Of a world that thought it could fracture what had been forged in chaos and danger. "You know," Harper whispered, voice rough with quiet laughter, "no one will ever understand this." Riley smiled, soft, dangerous. "They don't need to. It's ours." Another long pause. Then Harper leaned closer again, forehead resting against Riley's. "You're my anchor," she murmured. Riley's laugh was soft. "And you're my reckoning." Outside, the city roared. Inside, nothing could touch them, not policy, not cases, not rivals, not danger. They had built something no one saw coming, yet everything expected. And nothing could break it. Hands entwined, they stayed that way, two forces forged in fire and calm, slow-burning, unstoppable. Chapter 15. Smoldering Shadows. The office lights dimmed. Only the glow from the skyline cut through the glass walls, painting them in gold and violet streaks. Harper sat on the edge of her desk, legs crossed, pen idly tracing the edge of a file, but her mind was elsewhere. Every sound, every movement in the room pulled her attention toward Riley. Riley didn't notice at first, moving between files with that dangerous ease Harper had come to know so well. But then, Harper leaned forward slightly, a subtle shift, and Riley felt it in her chest before her mind registered it. Their eyes met. No words. Just heat. The air between them was dense with everything they weren't saying. Desire. Trust. Reckoning. The memory of their med-room kiss hovered like a flame in the back of their minds, waiting for a spark. Harper's hand twitched almost unconsciously. Riley noticed. Smiled faintly. A slow, deliberate step forward. Their proximity was unbearable, magnetic. Harper's breath caught. Riley's shoulder brushed Harper's, light as a whisper, and Harper felt her pulse answer in kind. "You feel it too," Harper murmured, almost inaudible. "I always do," Riley replied, voice low, a velvet growl. The space between them shrank. Fingers brushed deliberately, then lingered. The light from the city cast shadows across their faces, painting them in angles too intimate to be casual. Harper tilted her head, lips barely grazing Riley's jaw as if testing, tasting, teasing. Riley's hands found Harper's waist, a slow, deliberate hold. No rush. No suddenness. Just awareness. Every inch of closeness drawn out savored. Harper's lips hovered near Riley's, their breaths mingling. The tension stretched taut, a wire strung between them. Every glance, every subtle movement, spoke louder than words. Then Riley's voice broke the quiet, soft but edged with heat. "You don't realize how reckless you are, or maybe you do." Harper's fingers traced the line of Riley's forearm, voice barely a whisper. "Maybe I like being reckless, with you." Riley laughed softly, low, teasing, dangerous. Her hands tightened slightly around Harper's waist, drawing her in closer. "Careful," she murmured. "I might decide you're mine, entirely." Harper leaned in slowly, letting the tension stretch, tease, burn. Not a kiss yet, just the promise of it. And in that suspended space, desire wrapped around them like a living thing. Slow, patient, certain. They didn't need words. They didn't need the world. All that existed was the pull between them, a fire that could ignite or smolder forever, and neither would retreat. Chapter 16. The Reckoning of Fire. The office was empty. The city's pulse throbbed faintly below, distant sirens and headlights like a heartbeat in the night. Harper leaned back against Riley's desk, fingers tracing the edge, but she wasn't paying attention to files. Not really. Her focus was entirely on Riley, who was standing a mere breath away, eyes dark with that familiar storm of control and promise. "You're reckless," Riley said softly, voice low, dangerous. "Maybe," Harper replied, voice trembling slightly with anticipation, "but I've been careful with everything else." Riley's smile was slow, predatory, and Harper felt heat bloom between her thighs. Riley stepped closer, their bodies nearly touching, the electricity palpable. Harper's hand reached up, brushing Riley's jawline. Riley's eyes closed briefly at the touch, then opened, sharper than before. Fingers threaded through Harper's hair, tilting her head slightly. The kiss came slow. Testing. Gentle at first. A question asked in heat, in fire. Harper responded immediately, lips parting, sighing against Riley's mouth. Hands moved over shoulders, down backs, gripping, holding, exploring, every touch a declaration, a claiming. Riley pulled Harper fully against her, lips and teeth grazing, teasing, tasting. Harper arched, letting herself melt into Riley's strength. Every nerve sang, every pulse aligned. The files on the desk were forgotten. The skyline outside was irrelevant. There was only heat and the undeniable pull between them. Riley's hands traced Harper's spine, memorizing, claiming, daring. Harper's fingers burned along Riley's forearms, along the edges of her shirt, memorizing the tension in muscle, the curve of shoulder, the fire behind the eyes. The kiss deepened, teeth and tongues brushing, hunger spilling into passion. Clothes became secondary, hands exploring skin, heat rising, hearts drumming like a warning. Every gasp, every moan, was a language only they understood. Harper whispered against Riley's neck, voice rough and trembling, "I've wanted this every second since that room." Riley's laugh was low, ragged, and full of promise. "I know," she murmured. "I've been waiting too." The world fell away. Not just the city. Not just the office. Everything else, the firm, the cases, the dangers, they didn't exist here. Only Harper and Riley, a tangle of limbs, lips, and fire. Hours passed in what felt like seconds. Every movement, every shiver, every sigh was a conversation without words, slow, deliberate, unrestrained. They claimed each other not violently, but entirely, with ownership tempered by trust, need tempered by understanding. When they finally collapsed together, tangled in limbs and sheets of heat, Harper whispered, breathless, This is ours. Nothing can touch it." Riley pressed her forehead to Harper's, fingers carding through hair. "They'll never see it. They'll never touch it. But we know." And in that quiet aftermath, the slow burn became a roaring fire, one forged in danger, in chaos, in trust, and now, in desire that would never fade. Chapter 17. The Shadow at the Edge. The message arrived on a secure line, anonymous, but precise. "We know who you are. We know what you do. We know how to reach the people you care about. Step away from the case, or we make sure it's not just your careers that end." Harper read it first, then looked at Riley. No fear. Only the quiet hum of awareness. Riley's fingers brushed Harper's as they leaned over the desk together. Harper felt it, not a casual touch, but a signal. "We are aligned, unbroken, unstoppable." "Interesting," Riley murmured, voice low and dangerous. "Someone thinks they can threaten us. Or distract us." Harper tilted her head, eyes narrowing. "They don't know the terrain. They don't know us," Riley said. The next hours were a blur of strategy, surveillance, and anticipation. Harper traced financial anomalies, footprints, email trails. Riley coordinated resources, legal loopholes, and counter-threats. Every move synchronized, as if the world bent to their combined calculation. But the threat wasn't only external, it was psychological. Whispered hints to the media. Leaked rumors to colleagues. A lawyer once trusted suddenly lying under oath. Every move tested not just their skill, but their trust in each other. At night, when the office emptied, Harper and Riley returned to their ritual. Not just desire, but a reaffirmation. Hands held, lips brushed, a kiss that said, "We are untouchable together." Riley whispered, "No one outside this room matters." Harper smiled faintly. "They never will. Not us." And yet, the thrill of danger lingered, like a predator circling. They moved on the threat like a storm. Precision. Silence. Subtlety. Harper's mind worked like a scalpel, Riley's presence like armor. When the first of the threat's moves came, a financial sabotage attempt disguised as legitimate, Harper noticed it in minutes. Riley followed, dismantled it in hours. They left no trace of their counteraction. The enemy believed they had succeeded, until the final reveal. Harper leaned back in her chair, eyes on Riley. "They won't see the last move coming." Riley smiled, brushing Harper's hair from her face. "No one ever does. Except us." And in that moment, the city felt small, the threat distant, the firm irrelevant. The fire between them wasn't just desire anymore. It was a shield, a sword, a force of nature. Anyone who thought they could break it would learn the hard way. Because this bond wasn't forged in comfort, it was forged in fire and chaos. And nothing could touch it. Chapter 18. The Face in the Dark. The first time Harper and Riley saw him, it was almost by accident. A meeting in a nondescript boardroom, one they had been summoned to under the guise of a client emergency. The man who stood there could have been any corporate shark, tailored suit, calm eyes, the perfect smile. But there was something wrong about the ease he radiated, like a predator masking its claws as finesse. He introduced himself smoothly. "Alexander Crane," he said, voice velvet, low, precise. "I represent interests that overlap with yours." Riley's gaze sharpened. Harper's jaw tightened. Overlap was an understatement. Crane's empire ran like veins through the very mergers and acquisitions Harper and Riley had just secured. His threat wasn't whispered anymore. It was nuclear, financial, reputational. And every move he made was calculated to touch Harper and Riley where it hurt most: control, leverage, pride. He smiled faintly, almost kindly, as he laid out his terms. "Step aside from this case," Crane said. "Cooperate, and we all walk away unscathed. Resist, and we expose every flaw, every vulnerability your firm has ever had. Publicly." Harper's eyes flicked to Riley. No hesitation. No fear. Only fire. Riley's hand brushed Harper's under the table, a silent promise. "Together, we see everything." Harper responded calmly, voice clipped and precise. "You miscalculate, Mr. Crane. We are not stepping aside. We see patterns others miss. And we do not break." Crane's smile didn't waver. If anything, it deepened. "You are confident. Dangerous. I like that." Riley leaned forward, eyes narrowing. "Dangerous is subjective. But you're about to learn a new definition." The man in front of them was smart. Ruthless. Unflinching. He had money, influence, and a network designed to crush any opposition before it even breathes. But he hadn't accounted for Harper and Riley, two forces that had learned to anticipate chaos before it existed. And most importantly, he hadn't accounted for the bond. The slow-burning, fire-forged connection that meant Harper and Riley weren't just smart. They were united. Harper leaned back slightly, letting her fingers trace the edge of the table. Slow, deliberate. "Every move you think will shake us, it will only sharpen us. And by the end, you will realize the only leverage you have is to watch us succeed." Crane paused, for the first time unsteady. Harper's gaze locked with his, cold, precise. Riley's hand slid over Harper's, fingers intertwined. A touch that was simple, but loaded with unspoken warnings. "No one outside this room can threaten us," Riley said softly, deadly. "Not you. Not anyone. We've been forged in fire. Tested in chaos. We survive because we understand each other, and the world doesn't." Crane's smile returned, forced now. He had underestimated them. A small mistake, but one that would cost him. Harper and Riley left the meeting not with fear, not with hesitation, but with fire smoldering in their veins, ready to turn Crane's threats into a battlefield he never saw coming. Chapter 19. Thunder Without Warning. Alexander Crane believed in pressure. He believed in leverage, in time, in the slow suffocation of opponents who didn't realize they were drowning until their lungs burned. He believed every system had a weak seam. Every person had a price. Harper and Riley believed in patterns. And patterns, once seen, could be undone. It began quietly. A filing error in one of Crane's subsidiaries, so small it looked like a typo. Harper found it at 2:17 a.m., eyes half-lidded, tea gone cold, city lights blinking like tired stars beyond the glass. She didn't smile. She didn't celebrate. She followed it. One error became three. Three became a lattice. Shell companies braided into trusts, trusts braided into offshore accounts, all feeding back into a single, carefully hidden artery. Harper mapped it like constellations, points of light forming a shape only she could see. She slid the tablet across the desk to Riley. "This," Harper said softly, "is where his empire breathes." Riley studied the screen, then looked up, eyes dark with something like reverence. "Then this is where we cut the air." They didn't move alone. Riley called in regulators who owed her favors, journalists who trusted her instincts, a compliance unit that loved nothing more than the scent of a powerful man's mistakes. Crane, meanwhile, escalated. He leaked rumors about the firm, questioned Harper's credentials, whispered that Riley had conflicts of interest, personal entanglements, blurred lines. The firm called them in. Boardroom. Frosted glass. Long table. Short patience. Riley stood first. "If you think we're compromised," she said evenly, "fire us." Silence. Harper slid a folder across the table instead. "Or," she said, "you can read this." They did. By page 3, someone stopped breathing. By page 10, someone swore under their breath. By page 20, the firm didn't just stand behind them. They stood with them. Chapter 20. The Fall. The thunder broke 2 days later. At 9 a.m., Crane's primary holding company was frozen. At 9:07, 3 of his banks flagged suspicious transfers. At 9:12, a journalist published a story titled, "The Invisible Empire: How Alexander Crane Hid a Fortune in Plain Sight." By noon, regulators were at his door. By evening, his name was trending for all the wrong reasons. Crane called Riley. His voice was still calm. That was the terrifying thing. "You did this," he said. Riley didn't deny it. "You built a maze," she replied. "You just forgot we see from above." The final meeting happened in the same nondescript boardroom where he had once smiled and offered them terms. Now he didn't smile. Harper sat across from him, hands folded, gaze steady. Not triumphant. Not cruel. Just precise. "You thought we were talented," Harper said. "You thought we were ambitious. You thought you could pressure us into folding." She leaned forward, just slightly. "You didn't realize we are inevitable." Crane exhaled. Slow. Long. For the first time, he looked small. Riley stood. "This is where you step away," she said. "Not because we forced you, but because there's nowhere left to stand." When it was over, truly over, they didn't go back to the office. They went to the rooftop. The city stretched beneath them, alive, unknowing, indifferent to the fall of a man who once thought he owned its veins. Harper leaned against the railing. He never saw it coming. Riley stepped in close, their shoulders touching. People who believe they control the storm never look at the sky. Harper turned, soft smile curving at the edges. "Good thing we do." Riley took her hand. Not a victory grip. A "this is us" grip. 2 minds. 1 rhythm. A bond that didn't burn anymore, it glowed, steady and unbreakable. And somewhere far below, the last echoes of thunder faded into silence. Chapter 21. Sunlit Shores. The ocean stretched endlessly, a mirror of sapphire and gold, waves whispering secrets only the wind could carry. Harper walked barefoot along the sand, toes sinking into the soft grain, the sun glinting on her hair. Riley followed at a distance, observing, unhurried, her eyes drinking in every curve, every movement. There was no pressure, no files, no threats, no city looming overhead. Just them, the horizon, and a quiet kind of magic that only comes when survival and desire converge into peace. Riley's gaze lingered on Harper, the tilt of her shoulder, the carefree tilt of her head, the slight smile playing at her lips as she kicked at the surf. There was light in her, unguarded, unfettered. And Riley's chest tightened, not with jealousy, not with need, but with certainty. When Harper finally turned to look at her, Riley stepped closer, sliding her hand into Harper's without ceremony. Harper's eyes softened, warmth blooming in the corners. I can't believe we made it through, Harper murmured. Riley smiled, quiet, intimate, dangerous in the most tender way. She brushed a strand of hair from Harper's face, thumb lingering against her cheek. Not just made it through, she said, voice low, deliberate. We conquered. And now? She reached into her pocket. Harper's eyes widened. Riley held up a small, velvet box. She opened it. A ring. Simple, elegant, perfect. Let's make this permanent, Riley said, voice a whisper, heart steady. Harper laughed softly, fingers trembling as they brushed against Riley's. Permanent, huh? Riley cupped her face, leaning in. Forever, she said. The kiss that followed was all of the years, all of the storms, all of the fire distilled into one perfect moment. Slow, consuming, claiming, not because they needed to, but because they had earned it. A month later, the wedding was simple. Private. Surrounded by sand, sea, and sky. Only a few witnesses. The firm had been invited in spirit, not in body. Harper and Riley exchanged vows that were equal parts promise and declaration. Words mattered little. The truth of their bond filled every pause, every smile, every hand clasped. When they slipped the rings onto each other's fingers, Harper whispered, eyes bright. No storms. No threats. Just us. Riley kissed her then, a slow, deep press of lips that said, always. Forever. Nothing will break us. And the sun set behind them, a blaze of gold and fire, painting the world in the hues of their love and triumph. Epilogue. Years later. The legacy of fire. The skyline shimmered like a city that had learned to bend to their rhythm. Harper and Riley walked side by side through the firm's newest headquarters, glass walls gleaming in the afternoon sun. They moved with the ease of two people who had faced chaos, survived it, and now ruled not by fear, but by respect and vision. Harper's laughter rang across the marble floor, light and free, as she recounted a small courtroom victory to Riley. Riley's hand brushed hers, just enough to make Harper's pulse skip, the smallest touch carrying decades of shared history and desire. The office had grown, expanded, but nothing had changed about their dynamic. Harper worked with no one but Riley. Riley trusted no one but Harper. Together, they were unstoppable. Partners in law, partners in life, partners in everything that mattered. Outside the city, at a villa by the sea, their children ran through sun-warmed sands, laughter like music carried on the breeze. Harper paused to watch them, then turned to Riley, eyes soft and filled with awe. We built this, Harper whispered. Riley smiled, brushing Harper's hair behind her ear. We did. And we'll keep building. Together. Later that evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, they stood on the balcony, overlooking waves that caught the last gold of daylight. Riley drew Harper close, lips meeting hers in a kiss slow, knowing, unbreakable. Forever, Riley murmured against Harper's hair. Always, Harper replied. And in that moment, all the storms, the battles, the high-stakes cases, the fire, they all belonged to them, shaped and tamed by love, brilliance, and the bond that nothing could touch. The city, the firm, the world, they could rise or fall. Harper and Riley had their own gravity, and no one could disturb it. Thank you so much for listening. Please subscribe and like this video and follow me for more stories. You are always welcome here, and leave me a comment or a thumbs up, just letting me know if you like the story and would like more, or is there perhaps an idea that you would like to share or let me write for you.